Hi, welcome to my sewing room. It's a mess today. I don't care. That's the reality. That's the way things are. And I'm not cleaning it up just to show you how to do this. All right, what am I doing? We are going to be making a binding for carpet remnant. So I got new carpet, but there was a chunk left over, and they just, left it in my garage. They didn't even tell me. I went out to my garage. I'm like, what is this? So I've got this chunk, and it's pretty good size. It's like 8 by 12, but it's not big enough to fit in any room in my house, but it would make a really nice area rug. And my son's got an apartment with all hardwood floors, so an area rug is just what he can use. So I looked up online carpet binding, and you can buy a kit, but it runs almost $2 a foot. So I need like 41 feet. So we're talking $60 to $80 for something that I really don't want to spend any money on. And I got to looking at it and I was like, I think I can make this. I think I can do this. All I need is fabric, and I have a remnant. I have some chunks of this was drapery, used to be curtains. This one even still has some of the blackout on it from when it was curtains. So I know it's a print, it's kind of weird, but you're really only going to see like just a little bit of this from it. And I think the fuzziness of the carpet will hide it, and the color goes good. So anyway, fabric from my stash, first thing. And I need some cording. Instead of buying a bunch of upholstery cording, I got some of this paracord. I don't know where that came from originally, why I have it. Just something in the laundry room. And it's totally wrapped around me. I'm going to trip. Okay, there's that. I need carpet tape. It's like a double stick tape used for sticking carpets to the floor. I'm going to use that to stick the binding to the carpet on the bottom. And the other thing I need is hot glue and my sewing machine. I am going to be doing some sewing. So thread, needle, hot glue. So that is the plan. Let's see if we can pull this out for stuff I already own, and maybe $10 at the hardware store for carpet tape. Okay, one of the first things we need to do is figure out how wide the strips need to be cut, and then we can figure out how much fabric we need and go about cutting. So we're going to wrap this around. I'm going to want to sew along here. So I need to know how much it's going to take to wrap around, just so it's comfortable amount. I mean, I don't want to have just a teeny tiny little bit of seam allowance. I want to have enough to work with really good. So about like that. And then the carpet tape's going to go underneath, and I'm going to need about 1.5 inches for the carpet tape, so 1.5 inches. And I'm just going to go another 1/4 inch bigger, I think, just so I have some wiggle room. So carpet tape. Yeah. All right, so that is, it's just shy of 3, so let's round up to 3. So I'm going to be cutting 3-inch strips. That should work. Okay, so now I know I need 3-inch strips, and I'll do the math and start cutting strips, and then I'll have to sew them together. Just a quick note. All right, I've got a bunch of strips sewn, cut. This is just binded from when it was a curtain. I'm not going to do that. This fabric, actually, 2 things. I'm really lucky it doesn't unravel very easily, so I'm not going to do anything with my raw edges. If you do have a fabric that's more prone to unraveling, you're going to want to do something with those edges. Serge them, zigzag them, cut them out with a pinking shears, just something maybe to stabilize it while you're working with it. I'm lucky that my fabric's pretty good. Now, normally when you cut binding for like a quilt or something, you would cut it on the bias, which means you go diagonal across your fabric. Instead of going north, south, or east, west, you go, cross. But for this, I'm just going to cut it this way. Straight grain. Also, what you would normally do for binding is, instead of just putting it like this, stitching it and flipping it, normally for binding what you would do is you go you line it up like this, and then you're going to sew from this corner to that corner, and then when you flip it, that seam is at a diagonal. That's how normal binding is done. I'm not sure why, and yeah, I'm not going to do that. So I just wanted to kind of show you the proper way to do it. So don't come back on me and be like, it's supposed to be cut on like diagonal and sewn. Yeah, okay, whatever. We're doing it this way today. So we're just going to stitch and flip it, and it'll be fine. All right, I got a bunch of strips to sew together. I'll be back. All strips are sewn together. On to the next step. And we're going to put this back on here, and we're going to measure that, remeasure that. So I think about there was where we were at. That leave me a good 1.5 inches. Yep. And what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to draw this line all the way down. So then when I sew it, I know that this is going to line up along there. Of course, this will be inside. So I think I'm just going to take this and I'm going to draw that all the way. And I'm just using a pen because it's going to be on the inside. And this is thick enough it won't show through. I'm going to draw that line for about 41 feet. So that's next step. Okay, I've got that line drawn all the way. I'm going to put our cord in there. We're going to fold it over. And we're going to pin it. We're going to work our way down and do all this pinning. And I might just sew over my pins. I'm not sure yet because I don't want it to, I'm going to kind of need to be pushing on that. I don't want that fabric to move. So we're going to do this till I get to the end or run out of pins. I can always sew part of it and then take the pins out and do the next section. Now to put this in my machine, I'm going to want to use a foot that's going to let me get right up along this edge. Your standard sewing machine foot, let's see, I've got a whole kit here I just bought. I haven't even used any of these. Where's the standard? Of course there's no standard foot. Anyway, standard foot kind of looks like this. Your needle has got to be in the middle here, so you're going to have this much metal or plastic. But I want to sew right on that edge, not way over here, right there. So I'm going to use one that looks like, that's not it, I just had it, here it is. One that looks like this. Because this I can get right up there, and I can get my needle right in there. So it's going to be right up against my cording. And actually I think this is going to work really good because look at how wide this is. If I keep this along this edge, and I keep that along my line, and also right there, I should have a nice, even, precise stitching to hold my cording in. So this maybe looks kind of complicated, but you just put it on your machine the way you normally would, and then you adjust this so that your needle goes where you want it to go. So you put your needle down and then you put this, move it over, and then you're going to tighten this down. So this just changes where this is in relationship to your foot. Okay, so my cording was in 2 pieces and I got to the end of the first piece. I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. Nice fresh cut. Piece of duct tape, and we're just gonna put that there, put that right up against it, and tape it together. There, that's it. Onward and upward. I was going to talk about the foot pedal real quick. If you're not familiar with foot pedals on your machine and how to change them, this is the one that was on there. It's got like a quick connect, so a lot of times when you change the foot, you're just changing the bottom part. But I needed to take the whole thing off. So this screw, take that out, and then you can take this one off, and then start threading that screw again. And this one just loops around the back there. It secures on, and then I can tighten this down. And then I can take this to adjust. And in this case, I want my needle just to the left. So if I drop my needle down, yeah, I lost my thread. I'm going to be like right about there, and I can adjust that orange screw. There we go. Super excited to just get done, and then realized I ran out of thread about, I don't know, 2 feet ago. So I'm not done. Now I'm done. I have all the sewing done. I wanted to show you something really quick. So you see how I'm pulled back from my line? That's okay. That's going to happen because when you tuck this tight, it's going to pull it back. So that's completely normal to not be right next to that line. So now to get the carpet out and start taping it down. So we got the rug inside out of the garage and rolled out on the floor, and then I've been applying my double stick tape. Let me show you how that works. So this is just indoor carpet tape. It's got like a, like a wax paper backing, so you can do this in 2 steps. So first step is you just stick it on there. Just like that. Try to get it between your seam allowance and your raw edge. Doesn't have to be real exact. So I'll do a chunk and then I'll just cut it, because otherwise it gets kind of cumbersome to do the whole thing. So I'll do a couple feet and then cut it off and then start again. Works pretty good. So to put it on, try to get little loose strands out. I'm going a little bit below my seam because I want to be able to roll this up when I get done. I didn't think about that on the first edge. I kind of put it up tight, and then I was like, I want to be able to kind of roll this up a little bit because we're going to be gluing this. Excuse me. So I'll just peel a little bit of my paper back and kind of line it up. Peel my paper back and line it up. You can unstick it and restick it if you're like, oh, that was a miss. But try not to do that because you lose your stickiness. And then just kind of rub it. And I've got, wrinkles in it. And it doesn't matter. Just kind of rub it down. It's not real sticky, but I think it'll hold. As long as it doesn't get sucked up in the vacuum, really, there's not that much. It's not holding anything together, really. It's not like a seam in some clothing. But all right, that's what you got to do. And then I'll be back when I get to the corner. All right, we have come up to a corner, so let's work on that real quick. Just gonna go up to it. And I'm just gonna fold that kind of back and go around it. So it looks like this on that side. And it just kind of nicely rounds the corner on this side. Well, sort of. Might have to, got a lot of raw there, fringe. I might have to trim that off. So anyway, that's just kind of how you do the corner. You just wrap it around and fold it over. And because it's all sticky, it holds pretty good. All right, I've made it all the way around. Cut off my extra. I had about this much left over, so not too bad. You always want to have a little extra to play with. Never try to make it the exact size it needs to be. Always have some extra because you never know by the time you go around the corners, and if the one thing stretches but the other thing doesn't, it just never works out quite right. So what we're going to do to finish it is we're actually going to kind of like overlap them and then drop them down. But what I like to do when I do this is I like to get rid of the cording from, I'm going to want to get rid of the cording from here down. A lot of times on thinner fabric you can just kind of squish it. This one I'm going to have to actually like open it up, and then I can kind of peel it back a little bit. Trim that cording off so you don't have that extra bulk, you just have the bulk of the fabric. So that one's about there, so then this one will be about to here. So let's see if we can get this trimmed. I sewed it too well, I can't get in there. I've got the wrong scissors for this. I don't want to go upstairs again. There we go. About to there. Okay. So now the goal is where they overlap, I don't have any bulk. And I'll just stick it down. I'll probably add a lot of hot glue in this area, not just along the edge, but along the bottom here to help hold everything. So trim this one maybe a little bit less, tuck it under. So that is how you do that, or how I'm going to do it. Just wanted to show you that. Alright, last and final stage is running some hot glue along this edge. So first I cleaned it up. If there's any like really long loose threads, trim those off. If there's any loose ones of these that are down in that crack, trim that off. I think that'll be okay. And then we're just going to run a bead of hot glue along that edge. And then you squish, push it, hold it for a little bit until it cools off. Make sure when you set your glue gun down that you're on the back of your fabric, not on the front, or not on your good living room carpet like I am. So that's it. We're going to go all the way around and secure it. Alright, carpet binding done. We now have a nice clean edge. It's not going to fray when you vacuum it or shed. I did put a bead of hot glue along the corner just to secure it, and I also, for some reason, I had this overwhelming urge to put a bead of hot glue all the way along this edge. So I just put a little glue, tried to get it under there a little bit, and then smooth it down with my finger. My hot glue gun must be a low temp because I can just smooth out the hot glue and I don't get burned, but wouldn't necessarily recommend that. So but for me I'm fine. So anyway, so very inexpensive way for me at least, because I was able to use a lot of materials I had on hand. If I was to buy the fabric, I probably would have needed about a yard of fabric plus the cost of the cording. I think I used about 15 glue sticks. So, and then of course your carpet tape. The roll of carpet tape I think was like $7. That was the only thing I had to buy. So just have to price it out and see if that's cheaper than the kit you can buy, or if you can pull it off like me with scrounging stuff you already have around the house. So test of time, we'll see if how durable it is, how well it holds up. So thanks for watching. Stay creative and keep sewing.